Happy holidays, everyone. I know it's kind of crazy to see my background back home. I meant to make my last kind of end of term 5 video while I was down in Grenada, but just got so busy with everything and trying to get packed to get back to the United States. So I wanted to hop on here, tell you about my experience and really the last half of term 5, what to expect, what I thought of our hospital visits and our small groups, just to kind of get the term 4s their brains a little bit turning for term 5 and prep anyone for term 5. And then a little bit of my video is going to be pretty much for everyone, whether you're new to Grenada or you're looking for some new spots. I'll tell you a little bit about where I stayed, how that experience went, and just any other remaining tips that I have before we end the 2022 school year. So let's start after, if you watch my last video, I talked a lot about the first module, the MNI module. So go back, watch that for all the tips. Now, after that, we move into pretty much all of the cumulative exams. And my only advice for this is you're going to hear so many people saying, oh, I completely neglected lecture. I did my own thing. It's going to come down to what works for you. I know that I tried on the second exam to completely neglect lecture, and so many questions came from straight from the DLAs and from the lecture slides. So my advice would be, even if you don't want to go deep into those lectures, still brief over it just to get the SGU information, because you know how SGU loves to really tailor their exams sometimes to their PowerPoints. Other than that, I liked Boards and Beyond, and I filled it in with Sketchy. These were things that I found was the best utilization of my time. And then again, doing the practice questions, they give you the RX practice questions. I would go ahead and start there. I know when I started around exam 3 is when I started picking up my UWorld questions. I really wanted to make it through UWorld twice before I took step 1. We're still working on that goal. I did knock out a lot of questions though during term 5 for UWorld. So I would do my RX quiz questions first, the Sakai questions, and then I would move on to UWorld, which was helpful in some instances when I got to the exams. So I definitely would recommend that there. The next thing, and that goes for all the exams pretty much in term 5, it's just a pretty quick, simple, cumulative thing. The next thing you're going to be doing at the beginning of term 5, if I didn't mention it in the last video, is you're going to have your BLS certification course. Make sure you attend that, get it out of the way. Simple, easy thing to do at the beginning. And then during term 5, towards the end, you're also going to be having your ultrasound clinic. Now, if they keep the rules the same, make sure that you show up for all 6. Make sure you're getting your attendance in, because they're very finicky about that. And you should be able to receive your ultrasound certification as well. So it's very, very cool to be able to have that opportunity to do that while you're in Grenada. I can't say for sure how long that certificate is good for, but all of us in term 5 had to do it, and it's a good thing to have on your CV as well as moving into clinicals. So to be able to have that experience, I would recommend, if you are returning back to the island, bring your ultrasound book with you. It might make things a little bit easier. I did not have that on hand. It was back home when I was on the island doing the ultrasound. Next thing is the small groups. So the small groups in term 5 are a little bit different than all of the other terms you've been experiencing. Now you're in term 5 and you're really feeling that aspect of, I am now going into the clinical setting. And that's what I really actually liked about small groups during term 5. It wasn't just, getting in there trying to diagnose the patient. It truly was thinking, what are the steps I'm going to take? Am I first going to be stabilizing this patient? Are we in an emergency setting? What am I going to do? What kind of drugs am I going to give them? What options for treatment am I going to give them? And what are the risks and the pros, the cons of each of those treatments? So it really gets you thinking. And then you're also implementing, all of your lab work, your imaging, you're looking directly at it, deciphering what is normal versus abnormal. And so I felt the small groups in term 5 were the most beneficial so far, because not only are you implementing your hands-on examinations and your physical examinations, but you're also getting that extra step of the aspect of the steps that you're really going to be taking in the hospital. Which brings me to my next point, the hospital visits of term 5. Okay, so in term 5, you're going to have around 10 hospital visits, again, if they keep everything the same from last semester, and it's pretty much just up to the school where they put you. You could be at the general hospital, you could be at a small clinic, a private doctor's office, you can even be at the clinic on campus. So you do get a little bit of experience in each. There's also a psych hospital. That one I unfortunately missed. Again, just under so much work, you do get 2 misses, again, if they keep everything the same. What I did really love about it is most of us as students at SGU, we do have clinical experience here in the United States, whether that is hospital, nursing homes, working as an EMT, working in labs, you name it, a lot of students have it. What I truly believe set this experience apart is, yes, we are IMG students, but now we have the opportunity to show on our resumes when we walk into our residency interviews that we really do have international experience. And not a lot of US students are going to be able to say that they've worked in international hospitals or at least had that shadowing experience, utilizing the different resources out there that you wouldn't first think of in a first world country, being able to have the thought process of not always having what you need on hand and being able to utilize other resources that, again, wouldn't be a first choice in the US medical care system. So that is something that I really appreciated when I went on the hospital visits. Yes, the hospitals are hot, there's no AC, and it's a lot to handle when you're already under the stress of term 5. But I advise you guys to please take your experience and the opportunity that you have and see it for what it is and try to enjoy it as much as possible. I know term 5 is rough and it's hard and it's extremely difficult to get through, but you got it. So many of us have made it, and just do your best. I know that I really focused on just passing term 5, and in the midst of it, I wish I would have enjoyed it a little bit more because it was my 4 months on the island and I was just so tunnel visioned and focused, which is fine to be, but definitely set aside that time to really appreciate the experience that you're getting. Other than that, drop your comments about term 5 or the BSFCR course in the comments below, and I can directly answer those in the comments because I did want to keep this video as short and sweet as possible. But the last thing I did want to mention, because I have, again, these are just my personal opinions, these are no reflection on anyone themselves, but if you have to choose an on-campus housing or somewhere near campus, please do so. I highly recommend it. I did not have a very great experience with my apartment, especially trying to get my security deposit back. And that is the number one thing I can recommend is make sure that if you are leaving Grenada, try to stay as long as possible, even if you have to stay with a friend or possibly get a hotel for a few days until your security deposit comes back. I had a battle with my apartment building and contracts, and it was just an entire absolute mess. So my number one tip for anyone who has are in the experience of getting your security deposit back or are eventually leaving the island in a couple weeks after term 5, whatever your situation is, my number one tip is please stay in Grenada as long as you can. Please stay with someone as long as you can until you are for sure you're getting your security deposit back. Again, you could private message me on that. I don't like putting business names out there in public on video. So if you do have a question, I'm happy to respond in email or even have any tips on a Zoom call or anything. But best of luck to everyone going into term 5. Definitely utilize the drives and boards and Sketchy and pretty much everything you can. Don't overwhelm yourself with too many resources. First Aid is always the best book that you can use for quick review. And definitely try to get into study groups. Enjoy your time. This is your final time on the island. And again, I'm sorry. I wish I could have made my final video from Grenada, but we are back in the US. So I wish everyone luck. I wish everyone going into term 5 good luck this term. You're gonna make it. It's a lot of hard work, but just grit and bear it, and pretty soon you're gonna be finished with term 5. So happy holidays, everyone. Welcome to all the new SGU students coming in. For you guys, I'm also happy to answer any questions that you might have, and I will see you guys all soon. I'm gonna go and prepare for step 1, and I'll let you guys know how that whole journey goes in a couple months. Bye, guys.